There are several problems, though, with this so-called evidence. Number one, no tapes have ever been surfaced. And Sarah Ransom's testimony was secondhand. She didn't say this happened to me. She said it happened to a friend, and that these tapes, were made, and that she had allegedly seen them. Okay, so perhaps her word is to be believed. But then it turns out that actually she doesn't even believe her own words. Because as you pointed out, Carol, in an interview with the New Yorker years ago, she actually retracted this and said that she had invented the story of the sex tapes to gain some leverage against Jeffrey Epstein in case he came after her for other, perhaps more credible allegations.
And the Times reports this morning on allegations of sex tapes featuring Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Sir Richard Branson. They were allegedly made by the paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein by a British aristocrat called Sarah Ransom, who made a series of allegations, but then later retracted them. Now, this has all emerged from emails written in 2016 and unsealed by a New York court. Let's talk to Sarah Baxter, who is director of the Mary Colvin Centre for International Reporting and a former Sunday Times deputy editor. Good evening to you, Sarah.
Good evening, Carol.
Just take us through these latest allegations.
Well, let's be clear about the origins of these allegations. These papers, emails, documents, etc., that have surfaced as a result of various court cases brought against Ghislaine Maxwell in connection with the Jeffrey Epstein case. And by no means has anything that has surfaced in these documents been proved as such, in the sense that if they didn't appear in the court case against Ghislaine Maxwell, we don't know the truth of them. But the names, of course, are sensational, and the allegations are pretty extraordinary about Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, even Richard Branson being filmed, that there are actual sex tapes of them engaging with sex with the girls who seem to be servicing Jeffrey Epstein. There are several problems, though, with this so-called evidence. Number one, no tapes have ever been surfaced. And Sarah Ransom's testimony was secondhand. She didn't say this happened to me. She said it happened to a friend, and that these tapes, were made, and that she had allegedly seen them. Okay, so perhaps her word is to be believed. But then it turns out that actually she doesn't even believe her own words. Because as you pointed out, Carol, in an interview with the New Yorker years ago, she actually retracted this and said that she had invented the story of the sex tapes to gain some leverage against Jeffrey Epstein in case he came after her for other, perhaps more credible allegations. So I think we've got to take this all with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, the Times explains how Ransom made these allegations in a victim impact statement, but then retracted all of it, saying that no good would come from sharing her allegations publicly. I want to walk away from this. I shouldn't have contacted you. I'm sorry I wasted your time. It's not worth coming forward, and I will never be heard anyhow, and only bad things will happen as a consequence of me going public. This will just create pain for my family and I. So, I mean, the other aspect to this is that although she retracted the claims, she does seem to be saying that she did so because she was worried about what was going to happen to her.
Well, yes. So in that case, do we then say, well, perhaps her original allegations are more credible? There is a problem. I mean, there have been allegations for years that Jeffrey Epstein had some sort of compromat on all the great and the good, alleged great and good, who had dealings with him over the years. And he had cameras all over his various mansions and his Love Island in the Caribbean and so forth. So from that point of view, the existence of tapes would not be particularly surprising. But then the fact that nothing has ever surfaced is a problem. There are other allegations that Sarah Ransom made, that seem on the surface somewhat more credible. For example, she says that whenever you hear about people receiving regular massages, and some of these include famous names like Prince Andrew, she said massages were code for sex. But of course, we also don't have any clear evidence of that. But on the surface, does seem a little odd that all these young women in bikinis were sort of draped around the Epstein's mansion and island, performing so-called massages. So they weren't trained massage therapists, for example. So that seems more credible. The other allegation that people are going nuts over in America is that Sarah Ransom claims that Donald Trump had sex with many, many women and described rather graphically the consequences of some of that sex with women. So, of course, his defenders are coming out and saying that she is not to be believed, that her allegations are totally incredible, and that she has proved herself an unreliable witness. I should say, by the way, that Sir Richard Branson has also come out and vehemently denied the existence of any sex tapes.
Just finally and briefly, if you could, Sarah, some very lurid allegations in some of the papers, and these pictures of some of the women on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Are there likely to be any further actual legal repercussions, do you think, of any of this for Prince Andrew, for Donald Trump, for Bill Clinton, or any of the others named?
Well, first of all, Donald Trump is up to his neck in legal problems as it is, and is still maintaining his hold on the Republican Party. So I don't think these allegations are going to affect him. I think Prince Andrew has already been dragged through the mire so much. There's almost nothing more to be said unless we actually get visual evidence of tapes. And so I think that some of this kind of trawling for information from the trial is beginning to come to. This might be the last throw of the whole saga. And I'm not saying the story will go away. There's bound to be dramatizations down the line, all kinds of accounts in future. The names are far too juicy to disappear. But I think that these court depositions are some of the last evidence to come out,
Okay.
and it's already been looked at.
And we know the impact that dramatisations can have of scandals from what's going on with the Post Office. Sarah Baxter, Director of the Mary Colvin Centre for International Reporting. Thanks so much for that.